All right, all right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A, your daily dose for coffee talk, answers, questions, and whatever may be on your mind for things. I'm Jay, your host. Welcome back to the show. We do this pretty much every weekday from 10 a.m. Eastern, something like that. I don't know. One of these days, I'll get the opening very smooth and professional. So how y'all doing today? Welcome back to the show. Yesterday, we were brewing with the SYPHON coffee brewer. But you know what? The results that we got were not so great because mainly the grind was off. And so the grind was too coarse. I don't think we got the really beautiful notes out of this coffee that we could have. So I thought, you know what? Let's do it again and see if we can get a little bit better results. Mom, good morning. Michael, to you as well. Michael, I'm going to head to the post office after this so that I can go talk to those guys and see what they can find out about your order. My apologies, it's taken so long. I don't know why it's still showing that it's stuck at this depot. So hopefully they can track that down and we can figure that out. All right. So yesterday's coffee was from Caffe my friend John Piquet. We were using the Dukamo Rumudamo, which is a coffee from Ethiopia that comes from South Central Ethiopia in the Sidama region. And it's run by a company called Bensa. And Defa Dukamo is the actual CEO of Bensa. And he's the guy that runs it. And Rumudamo, like we talked about, is a washing station, kind of like a co-op, but it's more of a washing station than a co-op, where the washing stations will buy coffee cherries from the local farmers. And the local farmers in this part of Sidama, there are about 600 of those farmers, and they're bringing a variety of coffees to the washing station to process into this coffee. And this coffee, as we talked about yesterday, won in 2020, got a lot of acclaim because it won the first place for the wash coffee highest score, #1, in the 2020 Cup of Excellence competition for Ethiopia. Oh, turn on some more water here. So it's done very well. This particular coffee was rated by Sweet Maria's to have a 93.5 score. So yesterday's coffee, maybe it was like 85, 86, 87, somewhere around there. So I don't know if it, that's why I say I don't think we got the full expression of it. So what I'm doing is heating some water here, getting it ready. Craig, how are you doing? Keone, how are you? Man, Keone, I was just thinking about your comment yesterday about how hot it is in Thailand. And I saw a report from Al Jazeera just a little while ago talking about in Manila, it's 40 degrees. I was like, oh, my Lord, 40 degrees. There's really global warming happening, right? It's like, yes, Southeast Asia is typically hot, especially in April, May, right? It's hot, hot, hot. But 40, I don't remember ever getting to 40 when I used to be there. Like 35, that's kind of normal. 40, man, that just sounds brutal. And I mean, at least in the Philippines, they've shut down schools because of the heat. You know, and I can only imagine. Like, it must be miserable to go to. I'm like, so the thing is that I was thinking about, it's like, okay, so the one person they showed in the Al Jazeera interview, you know, the girl is at home, she's working from her, you know, they're doing like online classes, she's working from her computer, and you know, obviously her family is fairly well off in Manila, right? You got a nice house, you got a nice desktop computer, it's all very nice, you're in air conditioning, so you've got some means. But I was thinking about just the average student attending the average public school in Manila or in the Philippines, and it's so hot. Like, I get it. You don't want them in the schools because it's so hot. But like, you know, if you're living on a barangay or if you're living in like a regular home that doesn't really have any much air conditioning, man, it's got to be brutal. It's got to be brutal. Like even in some of my family's houses, you know, my relatives, they would have only like the bedrooms would be air conditioned, but the living room, kitchen, everywhere else in the house, no air conditioning. And you just kind of sit there, you know, and you're pie-pieing yourself, drinking water or like iced tea or whatever you have, Coca-Cola, trying to keep cool. But man, 40, I can't imagine. That sounds terrible. Keone says, yes, can't take a cold shower. Water's warmed in the pipes and the shampoo and soap. Oh yeah, gosh. It reminds me of that. I don't know if you saw this video that I did from Dumaguete. It's about the Henry Resort, and beautiful, beautiful place. I mean, super luxuriant, right? But in the video, I talk about going for a swim in the pool. But last summer was or last June was so hot. Like the pool was warm. Like you know how you get into a pool and you kind of feel like it's cool and refreshing. This is the kind of heat where like the pool was hot enough that you're like, man, it's just kind of like bath water, and like you're still sweating in the pool because the water is warm enough. Yeah, I get it. That's brutal. Like, you know, even if you're, you know, in the province, we would have to use buckets, like these big buckets. And then we'd have this thing we call the tabo, which is kind of like a little bucket with a handle. So you have something like this, and you just kind of have to. Oh man, I can't imagine if the water is just up to 40 degrees because it's sitting in that bucket. Like, wow, I hear you. I hear you. The struggle is real. The struggle is real, and I'm sympathetic. Michael says, month of August or September in Houston was above 100 C. But you are looking forward to that. Okay, cool. I'm never looking forward to that kind of weather. I want it to be cool. I want it to be like 81, 82 degrees. I think that's fine. Like maybe 27 to 31 in Celsius. I think that's about the same range. It's weird because if I think about it's hard for me to think direct correlation between Celsius and Fahrenheit. I kind of tend to think in one or the other, but I don't really know where the two really meet. Maybe I really like 27. Maybe that's closer to 81. I don't know. It's just like when we talk about roasting and coffee. It's like people are like, you want to go to 420, but I think 420. I'm really thinking that I need to be at 215 or 212 or 206. But I have no idea really if that's 420 or 400 or 385. I don't know. May is typically the start of monsoon season. Everyone's like, oh yeah. And Braxton's with us. Hey Braxton, how are you, man? Good to see you. So in the monsoon season, speaking of which, when I was a child, we would go to visit my Lola, my grandmother in the Philippines. And I remember monsoon season would come and like the flooding would be crazy. Like they had a house in Tondo, which is kind of the rough area of Manila. Like I go there now and I'm scared. I'm like, oh, I am definitely not supposed to be like, no one's really messing with me, but you just know that like, oh, these are the tough guys. I'm not a tough guy like that. But anyway, so like the rains would come, the flooding would come, and gosh, it would be like I was a child. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, and then we play in the water. It was kind of ridiculous, but kind of fun. Just kind of fun. All right, so we've got our brewer here. So we had some critical mistakes yesterday, mainly the grind. We're going to fix that today. One of the things we want to do is while we prepare is that I showed you, I think I talked to you this yesterday, we keep the used paper cloth filters in water. And as you can see, I've kept it in water here. It's a good practice. It just kind of keeps it hydrated. It's supposedly, you know, when you let it dry out, it will give brighter acidic notes to your coffee. And so when you're getting it ready, all you have to do is to just kind of squeeze it out. I'm just going to rub it a little bit. Then I want to show you, again, we've got our stem. We've got a spring, hook stem, and chain. The chain's important because it needs to touch the bottom of your brewing orb. Otherwise, it will not boil, at least on a halogen infrared burner like this. So just take this and let's see here. We're going to grab it here. Hook that on like thus. Let me zoom in a little bit more. I never have it zoomed in enough, do I? So have that in there. And then now you're ready. Now it's all ready to go. And we'll put this on our little stand because we do need to do a little bit of housekeeping before we begin our brewing. Let's put our thing back on the side. I always keep water inside the siphon lower half because you just never know, especially in a commercial environment. We leave it set up like this pretty much, right? Like at the shop, we would leave it kind of sitting like this just because it's visually appealing and attractive. And, you know, somebody, hey, what's that? What's going on there? Well, we do these coffees in here and it costs this much money. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll get one. Ah, excellent. So just in case you happen to inadvertently bump the switch for some reason, or someone on staff does that, by having some water in here, it will heat, but it won't overheat the glass and potentially crack it, right? Especially if you're touching it, you're moving it, something happens. You just want to try to keep that from not happening. So we're going to just pour that out. And then we're going to add some off the boiling water, or preheated water, really. Oh, we're going to add, well, we'll worry about adjusting it later. I'm just going to add this now while we do our boiling. We're going to be doing 215 milliliters of water total to 13.2, I think it was 13.2 grams of coffee. So I'm going to put this to the side and get our scale and our little measuring cup. All right, let's look here. Okay, we have our scale. We've got our Dukamo Rumudamo. Oh, John's with us. What's going on, John? You can do it, not as good as I can. Yeah, you're definitely much more in practice. Like until yesterday, I hadn't done a siphon since the summer of 2021. All right, so we're going to do 13.2. Ooh. What I've learned with this scale, 13.3. That's all right. That's all right. Well, maybe we'll add a little bit here. Oh, Sal's with us. What's going on, Sal? Glad to catch a stream. I'm a friend of Hoon and enjoy the conversation. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the show. Here is our Dukamo Rumudamo from Sidama, Ethiopia. A 2,000 meter grown coffee that is nice and lightly roasted. It's roasted on a Korean roaster by John at Caffe. Okay, so yesterday, we had our brats of virtuoso, and we were here, number 10, 11, 12, number 12 on the scale here. Oh, one thing I should note, even though I'm talking about numbers, I never normally talk about numbers. I'm just use this as a reference for yesterday, because numbers really have no meaning, right? If I took another Baratza Virtuoso, that number 12 might not mean anything equivalent to this. And we were testing that yesterday because I shot another video yesterday afternoon where we got a bunch of like Malconigs in, the EK, not the EK, but the whatever, the X54, the 65, and the 80. So 3 sizes of Malconig grinders. The X54 is a home designed for the home. It's multi-use, so you can go from pour over to espresso, regular brewed coffee, and then the 65 and the 80 are commercial shop espresso grinders that are meant for commercial use. Oh, one thing while this is doing it, as you notice here, nothing is really happening. I don't know if you can see this very well, but like if I put this in here, I forgot to put this in here. Now that I have this chain touching, you can see some of the bubbling start to happen. That bubbling doesn't happen unless you put the chain on it. So again, we talked about in the last video, you want to put the chain in so you avoid the gurgling, right? The gurgling is this point where it reaches such intense heat and pressurization that it just jumps, and the whole thing, like, and a whole bunch of water will shoot out, potentially scalding you. So try to avoid that. All right, so we've got our 13.3 grams. Oh, we're going to change our grind. Braxton says, siphon is fun. I haven't used mine in years. I know we haven't done much brewing this. All right, let's go all the way. Let's say we go to 0, and let's go 2 clicks out. We're going to 1, 2. We're going to 2. So we've reduced it by 10 notches. And taking the dog out. All right, take the dog out. Who let them out? I don't know. Actually, let's check our grind. Ooh, that sounds fierce. You know, that actually looks. We're almost to the point that I think it could be finer. Let's go all the way. Okay, that's too far. There's a point, if you go past a certain point on either end, that the grinder will not even turn on. Oh, and also, you have to have this in there. Okay, we're going all the way grind, fine. So no popcorning. Okay, nothing left inside there. Good. All right. Okay, wow, that looks really fun. That looks actually ideal. Ooh, and already I'm getting some nice, beautiful aromatics, kind of reminding me of cacao, like a cherry cacao. Reminds me of this particular chocolate that I buy from a company called Cordillera from Nacional de Chocolates in Colombia. It's a 70% cocoa that is nice and dark cacao with these really fruity notes in the chocolate of like cherry, like dark cherry. Ooh. That's very pleasing to my nose. Okay, so we've got our coffee here. Can you see it? There we go. Look at that. That's a pretty nice looking grind. Kelly says that's one of the nice things about the Zerno grinder as it uses micron grind. Did you get a Zerno grinder? Do you have one of those? Because I looked at that at the trade show and I was like, oh, it's really nice. It's got a lot of like accessories you could add to it. It's like super like stylish. And then we were like pressing it. I was like, because I was talking to the owner and he was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. If you add this, it's like $2,200. I was like, $2,200 for a home grinder. Whoa. I was like, whoa, crazy. But it is super cool looking. It is super cool. All right, so we've got our water. Let me double check the amount. Okay, we don't have enough. We need a little bit more water. We're going to go to the 2 mark. That'll give us about the right amount of water that we're going to need to brew our coffee, but just around 8 ounces. Okay, so as you can see here, I keep the top half on top like this. You know, I cleaned this last night and I washed it really well and I dried it, and now it still looks terrible. Anyway, the nice thing about this, you know, when you first start working with them, you always get nervous, like, oh, it's gonna fall out or something, but really it won't. It's just gonna be okay hanging out there because the stem is long. We gotta make sure we turn up the heat more. Now, as you can see, there's some boiling going on. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Braxton says that Zerno is kind of end game for me, but oh yeah, big bucks. I was like, whoa. It is big bucks, but it is super pretty. Like I was like, oh, that's really a pretty grinder. I was like, oh, I would like to have that. Yes, I have the 2nd generation, ordered before they had any price increases. Oh, very nice. Very nicely done. What was it like when you bought it, the 2nd generation? What was that like? Like, how much was that? Now, yesterday, John said that the water meets the coffee. So we will put which is reverse than how I normally do it. So in his world, you add you put it together, add the coffee, and then the water meets the coffee in the upper chamber. And what we're going to do is we're going to lift the water into the upper chamber, right? And so what's happening is that the heat, once you connect the 2 halves with this rubber stopper, the water pressure or the built up steam pressure pushes the water up into the upper chamber and will hold it there. And then you'll make sure that the coffee is being stirred or agitated or just kind of oscillating because of the water, the steam flow. And then we're going to do that for 40 seconds. We're going to make sure that's all wet, 40 seconds, give it a nice stir so that we get a good vortex, and then let the whole thing fall. Okay, now we got a hard boil. Let's put them together. We're going to turn this. We're going to raise all the, oh well. See, I am not. Now what we're doing here, we're getting this going, and I'm going to make sure that we just make sure the coffee is wet. And I have forgotten to start the timer, 1957. So we're going to go to 37 seconds on. I have a timer on the. So I'm just going to turn the heat down just a little bit because now that we've raised the water into the upper chamber, I'm just turning it down a little bit to keep it suspended, right? 1920, so 15 more seconds. This is the part where it's like all like panicking because you have to pay real close attention to what you're doing, make sure that you're not screwing it up, and give full attention because the time is critical. 34, 35, 36, 37. Turn off the heat, and we're going to give it some stirring and try to get your spoon out so that your vortex will not be destroyed, and hopefully you can get a nice dome. Now, the true measure of a professional brew is a dome. Ooh, look at that. There we go. Nice dome here. And now we're going to see some boiling, right? So you see the boiling. That's just the steam pulling, the vacuum pulling the water through. Oh, if you remember from yesterday's video, like, look at that, Mamma Mia. That's exactly what you want. See, this, look at that. There's a dome there. That is just sexiness. This is what you want. When you're brewing siphon, you want to see a dome at the bottom, like a nice formed dome. Gosh, that is exactly what you want. That's a good sign. So, and why do we pay attention to signs like this? Because in a professional environment, at least, when you're making coffee for guests, you can't really taste it. Like, you know how these bartenders, they like to go around and they like to make your cocktail, and then they'll stick a cocktail straw and taste it. Yeah, I kind of dislike that practice. It's like, what are you doing, man? Stop tasting my drink. I'm paying $15 for that. Stop tasting it. But I get why they're doing it. In coffee, people would get upset if you do this. So you have to use visual clues to help you determine whether or not your preparation of that beverage will be successful for the guest. And this, in the world of siphon, this is one way of doing it. Like, you should have a nice dome, and hopefully, and that tells you that your technique has been good, which hopefully means or translates into your brew, your drink will be good. But you never know until you try. And then your guest is like, well, then they write a Yelp review. They're like, you know what? It wasn't very good. It's like, oh, gosh, never mind. Never mind. Okay, let's see. Braxton says, I have 2 Varios that combine less than 2. No doubt. That is nice. I think coffee first has lower starting temp. Water coming up, then coffee should have a higher temp. Oh, we're talking about the why we're doing it this way. I've always just raised the water into the upper chamber and then added the coffee to it. It's more, those kind of things are, I think, stylistic choices and technique choices that different baristas or different coffee people will make. It kind of has to be figured out to what you want. Also, one of the things about, especially in our production environment at Spro and at the Hamden shop, we would, by adding the coffee to the water, it did prevent, I hadn't really thought about it this way until just this moment, but it probably prevented some production errors, because like if you add the coffee and then connect and then let it run, then something happens and it diverts your attention. You're losing that time from, and that you could go over time. You could have all these problems. But if you boil the water, connect the two, raise the water into the upper chamber, you can be doing a bunch of stuff. And then once you're fully ready to commit to those 30, we do 35 seconds, to those 35 seconds, then you can add the coffee, stir it, and focus. Because we would teach our baristas that the moment you start the siphon, you got to focus. There's no time to you don't have enough time to do anything else but focus. Everybody has to wait, right? There could be a line, they're going to wait until you have finally stirred and pulled it from the heat. And then the thing about the siphon, like we talked about before, is that it is the hottest brewing method around. So as unlike all the other ones, we're constantly adding heat via the heater to the brew. Instead of a cascading temperature, we're keeping a constant, at least a constant, perhaps even a little bit rising in temperature. So it's very different in that when you serve this to a guest, it's super heated compared to the rest of the coffees on your menu. So we always tell the guests, here, be careful. It's super hot. Don't scald yourself. And that's one thing you have to be aware of. And when you go to John's shop, he even tells you wait 10 minutes before you drink. So we're going to pour this in. This glass is room temperature, so it's a little bit on the cool side. Like it feels very cold to my hands at the moment. All right, there it is. Our elixir. Ooh, that looks a little bit nicer than yesterday. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe the technique is still poor. Kiona says that with the Pelican case, it was about 12 to 1300, I believe. I can't remember the actual. Oh, that's fairly. I think the base price now for the Zerno is somewhere around there. But when you add all of the cool accessories, I think the case is even extra. It's like it worked out to be like $2,200. I haven't done the video yet for it. That's coming up. I've been making all these SCA show floor videos. So today we've got, like yesterday was the visit to Uganda, tasting the Mountain Harvest coffee from Uganda. The next one, today's video, is the Indonesia video. We actually taste two different types of kopi luwaks. And the kopi luwak, there's a wild luwak from this producer called Caldera Coffee. And she basically gets the wild luwak. And then there's another producer, Ronnie, who has this product where they use an enzymatic fermentation to mimic the digestive tract of the civet cat in a natural fermentation that doesn't touch the cat at all. And the really interesting thing about these two coffees is that one is truly a civet coffee, the other one is just some kind of processing. But they're both really nice. Even the civet one, like all the kopi luwaks that I've had in the past, I've only had it like twice, were just flat, earthy, just not exciting, not dynamic, very, very one-dimensional. It's like you're spending, at least back then, $10 or whatever it is per cup. You're spending a bit of money, upwards of $600 a pound, reputedly from before, for coffee that's really isn't very exciting, other than the fact that it comes from the cat poo in Indonesia. But these coffees really nicely processed, really nice flavors. I was really surprised that I could say very positive things about the wild luwak. Okay, man, thank you. I appreciate that. Nicely done. Thank you. And Braxton says that's not bad for what the Zerno. Yeah, I'm saying $2,200 is a lot of money. I'm not. There's no way to say that it isn't. But you'll spend. You could easily spend that much money on an Apple laptop or any kind of or that ridiculous. You spend twice as much for one of those like Apple goggles, right? So it's not for the quality that they're delivering. And I've seen the grinder. It's really a nice quality grinder. And that Malkonig 80 E80, is it the E80, whatever, the 80 millimeter burr grinder, we were just playing with that yesterday. That's $2,600. So it's not outside the spectrum. It's just like if you're trying to be if you're a home user and you have a budget, like it is still pretty expensive for a grinder. But if you're really into it, guys are buying Weber's, or the Versalabs, $3,600. So, it all depends what you're looking for. John says your timing started early, but yeah, I know. I totally forgot to look for a timer when I started. At the shop, I'd have people wait 10 cooling minutes on the Ethiopia, for sure. And that's why I'm waiting here. I even waited. I timed it when I was at the shop the other on Saturday. I was timing it on my watch to make sure that I had the 10-minute window. Never add the coffee to the water. This is not. All right, we'll try the difference. Is it ready? Is it time yet? We haven't had 20 minutes, 10 minutes yet. Okay. Nice, nice aroma. A little bit of that cherryness on the nose with some dry cacao. There could be like also grinder differences. Like without a doubt, the grinder that John is using at his shop is far superior to the Virtuoso. He's using a two-stage Versalab grinder, which uses conical burrs that break down your beans, and then flat burrs that finish the finish. Something like that. What coffee is this again? This is the Ethiopia Dukamo Rumudamo from Sidama region. It's actually the Rumudamo is a washing station in Sidama that is owned by a company called Dayebensa, which is run by a guy named Ethiopia Dukamo, hence the name Dukamo Rumudamo. And these are what are they? They are Ethiopian heirloom varietals from 600 different, the coffee is aggregated from 600 smallholder farmers in the region that sell their cherries to the Rumudamo washing station. This is a wash process coffee, and very highly rated. It was Sweet Maria's gave it a 93.5, and this particular washing station, which really we talk about this, but it means nothing today. Like 4 years ago, during the 2020 Cup of Excellence, these guys won first place in the wash coffee. It's not the same coffee as that one. So I don't know. We talk about things like that. So, yeah, all right. Like me, I was the 2012 AeroPress champion of the United States. What does that mean today in 24? Nothing. Nothing. It's very little. As our cruel world teaches us, you're only as good as your last coffee. Ooh, that is a nicer, sweeter brew than yesterday. It makes me think that I would like to get a different grinder up here. Maybe one that has a better, like finer control. Maybe bring up the R80, the compact, or maybe I'll go harvest one of those. What is it? The X54 that we were just playing with yesterday. The Versalab. Oh, Versalab is only for espresso. Oh, that's right. You're using the Akira Koki kind of tube grinder for the yeah, there it is. Braxton, he owns this company, Caffe de Bola in Salt Lake City. I was just there over the weekend, hanging out, and had a great time. We even had Keone go there when he was attending the tattoo convention in Salt Lake. Using a Akira Koki 60 flat with SSP burrs. Oh, that's right. See, these are the details that I don't necessarily remember because I'm shooting video and it's all like captured on. And there's a lot of footage. Like I have no idea how we're going to go through this, how long it'll take to make that video. All right, definitely nicer notes like florality. There's honey. There's jasmine, definitely that. Some light, what do you call that? Seeded fruit, like pear coming through. There's a slight acidity to it, but it's really mild. It's not like a lot of times when you go to these, new school specialty coffee shops that are very like brightly forward. This has a brightness, but it's subdued and it's also very like mixed in. That was a much better brew than yesterday. Much better. Still on the lighter side as far as coffees go overall. But very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. Jenny says, I really enjoyed my short time there and plan to go back more next year. Oh, you should definitely go, man. Definitely go back. I've got to head up to Boston this weekend. My aunt has summoned me, so I need to go up there and see what she needs. And then, so that means next week's videos next week's live streams maybe a little helter-skelter. Like I'm not sure exactly what the situation is that I'll have there, but we're gonna try to do normal 10 a.m. Eastern time from wherever we are in Massachusetts. I have no Boston area. But she's a food scientist that has always been kind of asking me, like she's developed these recipes for me, specifically waffles. And I was like, and I've been kind of like, well, I don't have a method of doing that. But now with the new shop coming, I'm like, ooh, maybe we could actually utilize this waffle recipe finally after all this time that she's been like, saying, hey, I've got this ready for you. I was like, oh. And I have to call Dave Arnold to be like, hey, man, what is that waffle iron that you say is awesome? Because evidently there's this waffle iron. I forgot the name of it now. I have to find out, but it's supposed to be the dopest of waffle irons. I'm like, oh, now I need to go get one. I've got the Wearing Pro, which is fine for like, home testing and all that, but for commercial use, you need to have like one that really gets hot and like can grab you, right? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Oh, Michael's gonna be in Boston May 3rd. How long are you staying? That's a good. Oh, May 3rd. Okay, so good question. So this is what I have to do. I have to go to Boston probably Sunday. I'll be there most of the week, and then I'm supposed to fly to Los Angeles. One of my mentors from many years ago passed away, so we're having a memorial for him next weekend. So 4 or 5. And then I have to plan it, but I think we're coming. I think I'll have to go back to Boston after. So I will let you know. I will let you know in the next day or two. Craig says, I've always added coffee to the water, so I'd also be interested in the post, please. Okay, I will make sure that whatever John sends me, we will follow up on to discuss more, whether in a video or maybe I'll put a community post on the channel so that it'll be out there. Have I gotten everything? Okay, yeah. All right, good. Well, that's pretty much it for today. We're running a long time on this live stream today. Longer than normal. I mean, honestly, I could talk probably ad nauseum for a long time about this, but I try to keep the streams as tight as possible so that everybody can go back to their lives. All right, so well, that's pretty much for today. Tonight, if you have time, we'll be doing the Coffee and Cigars live stream. I don't know where we're doing it from because we were scheduled to do a live stream from Capital Cigar in Bethesda with Pete Johnson of Tatuai Cigars, but the Payam, the owner of Capital, is kind of concerned that maybe it's going to be too crazy. So it may not be an optimal time for us to do a live stream because we do take up a little bit of space with the live stream. So we may bypass that and just do a Tatuai cigar somewhere else. Although I would love to have Pete at least share his discussion with all of you, but I won't know for a few more hours. So yeah, there it is. Here's the world of live production. You don't really know what's going to happen until it happens, and anything can go wrong at any moment in time. All right, so anyway, thank you, Mom. I appreciate it. I will look for that link there, John. And May 3rd through 7th. I wonder if I'll be back by then. Okay, I will work on that. I haven't really made all the flight arrangements because I don't know exactly what's happening, but I will let you know as well. If you ever go to NYC, let me know. I have a good friend from Hawaii that is a chef at the St. Regis. Oh, I will remember that. I don't get to New York very often anymore because the one conference that I normally would go there for, the International Chefs Congress, has not been rescheduled since before the pandemic, which I'm disappointed by. That was the one reason. That's the one main reason why I have been going to New York City for the last 10 years. I started going to Cinegear, New York, but I didn't go this year because I was just it's for me, it's just such a battle to go to New York. I don't really I used to live there, right? When I went to NYU, but to go back now, it's like pulling my teeth. I really don't want to go. But St. Regis, maybe I will go. All right. Anyway, Dan, what's going on, Dan? Good to see you. I read elsewhere that adding coffee to water mitigates migration of fines to the filter, reducing clogging. Love coffee since it's not necessarily a dogma. or as much as you like. Oh, right on, right on. Well, you know what? Once I get this article from John and I look over it, well, I'll share it with all of you guys so that we can, you can chime in, let me know what you think as well. So, all right. That's it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful day out there. Back again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, with more coffee questions. Perhaps no answers, but at least some questions. All right. Until then, have a great one. And mahalo to you, Cuny.